Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Extensions Quick Tip tutorial. In this one, I'm going to be going over the three different kind of installer types you can use for extensions, the pros and cons of them, and when you should use them and when you shouldn't. I've gone over tutorials about how to specifically create these types of extension installers, whether it's a ZXP, EXE, or DMG, but today I'm going to be going over specifically why and why not, and the limitations and advantages. Before we get started, I do want to remind you down below, hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly in the channel, and down in the description you can check out my GitHub where I have coding and lots of other cool things you can follow along and check out for yourself. And also down there in the description, follow us on Instagram for other live updates. If you're not already a member of our Discord server, make sure you come and join to get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, UXP plugins, submit tutorial ideas, hang out with some of our awesome members, and much more. And if you'd like to help support us and get cool perks like loyalty badges, Discord status, live streams, and much more, you can become a member, supporter, premium supporter, or VIP down in the description down below. And also down there, check out the links to AE Scripts, Adobe Exchange, and Gumroad for other stuff that I create. So if you're not already familiar, quick introduction to the three installer types of CEP extensions. You have EXE for Windows, DMG for Macs, and ZXP, which works for both of them. But ZXP is actually sort of the initial file format we always sign or encode our extension with. And then if you want, you can go through the extra steps if you're on Windows to use something like inno setup, which I've made a tutorial on here. With that, you can create a Windows installer, or if you want to do it for Mac, you can create a DMG installer, which requires using several programs, which I've also created a tutorial here. But there are some cases which these take a lot more time to create. The workflow could be faster for certain types of installers, or the ease of use for the customer or you as a developer could be different. So for starters, like I said, a ZXP works for Mac and Windows. Windows uses the EXE, and DMG is for Mac. With ZXP, you can only install files in one location, which is actually the extensions folder. What this means is that if you want to install things separately, like have some presets or preferences pre-installed in the user's documents, this won't be possible because you can only install in the default extensions location here. If all your presets and stuff are baked in, then that's perfect. Another thing about ZXP to know is there are many ZXP installers. I know of at least 3, but there may be 4 or 5. And I have noticed some can be unreliable with new versions of Adobe or new versions of CEP. And that is mostly I've seen in the standard ZXP installer. But for the most part, if you use something like the AE Scripts ZXP installer, it is kept up to date and should work in most cases. Like I said, there are some installers that are easier for you as a developer, or some that are easier for the user. The ZXP is an example of one that is easier for you as a developer because all you have to do to create it is basically take your extension files, package them up using ZXP sign CMD, and boom, you have a ZXP file ready to send out immediately. There have been some cases where I've seen ZXPs actually be a pain, not just using different installers, but for the actual code itself. Depending on how you code your extension, if you hard code it to tell the extensions path explicitly in a string, for example, there are actually 2 locations on your computer where extensions can be installed. I've seen ZXP installers install extensions in either or, so if you have code that is hard-coded to one of those extension install locations, but it installs in the other, that can cause issues, and I have seen that in some examples. But overall, ZXP is very convenient, and if it works for your users, you can go ahead and do that. But if you do want to be more professional, you can increase sort of your value that you're providing, as well as increase the convenience of installation and everything for the users. And I can also say that this does reduce the amount of debugging you'll have to do as well when you have specified installers for each of the systems. So Windows only is of course, EXE installers. You can customize some level of these installers. There are probably other applications, but I personally use inno setup, which is free. And this allows me to at least add some custom images. I can customize the icon of the installer, and I can customize a fair bit of the menus inside. You do need a paid certificate, which is basically like an SSL certificate, to be trusted on other computers if you're sending them an EXE file, because EXE files are one of the top things antivirus and other things look for. So you do need a certificate, which is a recurring fee. But as a developer, this is something that pays off extremely quickly. And there are tons of documentation at least for Inno setup, to customize your installer, add logic if you want to give the user the option to install to specific versions of After Effects or specific apps. You can do this all and have checkboxes and the logic to check if files exist and a whole bunch of things. So that is much more customizable than the ZXP installer. And remember, in the ZXP installer section, you can only install things in one location, but with an exe installer, you can install to all kinds of locations, not just the extensions folder, and even customize it and use logic. And these kind of installers are extremely easy for the user to install because they simply double-click the exe file, go through the prompts like they've installed anything else on their computer before. It's basically a one-click setup for the user. And along the lines of what I talked about here, where sometimes ZXP installers can install to different locations, you can make sure with an exe, or as you'll see a DMG, you can install wherever you want, and this gives you a lot more control and will reduce the sort of bugs that can happen from different folders being read or trying to be read. Now finally, DMG of course is Mac only. Same thing as the Windows type, you can customize this a fair bit. The actual logic of the installers depends on the apps. There are two usual steps you take. First, you create a packages file, then you create a DMG file. So you do usually need two different applications, and there may be different applications for each of these, but in general, I use packages to get the package file, and then I use DMG Canvas to get the DMG file. You do need a paid Apple developer account, similar to how you need a paid certificate for EXEs. You need a paid Apple developer account to sign these installers in order to be trusted on all Apple computers. But they are extremely easy for the user to install, similar to the exe, where they simply just go through the normal prompts of an installation and boom, all their files are there. They just have to open the application and everything works. The only downside I could really think of to DMGs, aside from maybe like having to pay for it, is that sometimes because you have to upload this project to the Apple servers to be verified and then stapled and notarized and all that, it can take a lot longer for larger files because you have to upload and build those large project files multiple times, then get them notarized and signed by Apple, etc., etc. So it can take a while longer for DMG files and occasionally exe in that regard. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. That's kind of the differences and when to use the different types of installers for your CEP extensions between ZXP, EXE, and DMG. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. Down below, hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly in the channel. And down in the description, you can follow me on GitHub for coding updates, as well as Instagram for other live updates. If you're not already a member of our Discord server, make sure you come and join to get help with scripting, extensions, plugins, submit tutorial ideas, hang out with our knowledgeable members, and much more. And if you'd like to help support us on YouTube, you can do so in the description down below. Become a member, supporter, premium supporter, or VIP, which comes with cool perks like badges, Discord status, emojis, and much more. And also check out the link down in the description for AE Scripts, Gumroad, and Adobe Exchange, where I upload some other cool stuff. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.